This is Eternal Disco. We'll do a little bit of a mini-sode here because we want to stick this in a full episode because I feel like it will take up a third of an episode. So
plus we got to chase that algorithm.
Exactly. So this is our review of Dune 2.
Yep. Dune Part 2.
Dune Part 2.
Yes. Yep, we went to go see it. Must have been Saturday.
Yeah, we saw it. Yeah,
the day after it came out.
Day after it came out. Mm-hmm.
In a very crowded theater. Very nice theater. But yeah, we went to go see it. Just finally got around to actually be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
A few days later. But yeah, we watched it. It was. We'll do spoiler free.
Yeah. Okay. Spoiler free.
And then timestamp or some such nonsense.
Yeah.
For spoiler review and all that stuff.
Yeah. So spoiler free.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're going to see a better movie this year.
No. And for the record, haven't read, has read.
Yeah.
And I think it is a perfect sequel to Dune.
Part 1, yeah.
Yeah, Part 1. And as somebody who hasn't read it, I know the general story of the Dune
series.
Of basically the first Dune book. I don't really know anything about Messiah. So I'm really excited to go into, hopefully, Part 3.
Yeah.
But as somebody who doesn't know anything about, like, in detail about the Dune books, there's a couple of little things where I was just kind of, like, nitpicky.
Yeah.
You know, but other than that, I think Part 1 and Part 2, almost perfect.
I think they're nearly perfect movies.
Like, you don't get, like, the sense of the world and the sense of scale, you know, in the Dune world and the movies. Like, you don't see that in movies anymore.
No, it's incredible. I mean, it's like... I don't know, man. I'm not shocked because Denis is an amazing director.
Yeah, probably up there in the top 3, like, greatest working directors.
Greatest
right
working
now.
directors for sure, in my opinion. Especially greatest, like, newer generation of directors. It's so weird to say that when Denis is, I don't know how old he is.
He's in his 40s or 50s.
40s or 50s, so he's not like a young guy by any means.
But I did see something that he had a directorial debut, or he did something behind the camera, didn't work out, raised the family, blah, 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 and then, like, he didn't start back making movies till he was, like, 40.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't start making his current oeuvre. I'll pick which one of those is right. Into, like, his current, like, lineup, I believe started when he was like 40 or something.
Okay.
Late 30s maybe. So, like, he is, like, modern in the sense that, like,
I mean, he's modern in the sense of, like, I mean, all of his movies since Prisoners was 2013?
Yeah, early 2010s.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, exactly. Yeah.
But I mean, realistically, if I'm thinking about it, I mean, who has a better run right now? Anybody?
Eggers.
No, I don't think.
Not a better. I won't say a better run. Like, he's on that sort of track. I think
Eggers may be on that sort of track of, like,
depending on how good
quality.
Nosferatu is.
Yeah. But like
nobody's on a better run.
Prisoners. Well, first of all, I'll say me personally, Enemy was before Prisoners. I loved Enemy. Enemy, Prisoners, Sicario, Arrival, Blade Runner 2049, Dune Part 1, Dune Part 2.
Yeah.
I'm probably missing something in there. Feels like I'm missing something obvious.
Maybe.
But, like, if you look at, I mean, those are all just fantastic movies.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, for fuck's sake, we let him have Blade Runner.
Yeah.
We let him do a Blade Runner sequel, and it rocked.
Right.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
Some people don't like it, but...
I mean, you know, love it or hate. I mean, I think the thing with Blade Runner is, like, the original Blade Runner, like, had, you know... the original Blade Runner, which I think I did read that the only version that Denis had seen of Blade Runner was the original and not the director's cut.
Something like that, yeah.
Because people are like, oh, we want a director's cut of Dune Part 2, potentially, because there's some controversy with some cut characters.
Well, Denis has went on record saying that he does not believe in director's cuts.
Exactly. That's people were like, "Oh, I want a director's cut." He's like, "Well, famously, he doesn't want them, and he hasn't even seen the director's cut of the movie he directed the sequel to."
Exactly.
So he's only, you know what I'm saying. So All that aside,
because his whole like philosophy is like, it seems like he's a guy with a vision that will not let be. Yeah, that's awful. I don't know. Yeah, he's a guy with a vision that will not be interrupted by like studio interference. And if he is, then he just won't do it.
right.
You know?
Well, he's got the pull now.
And now he's got the pull to where it's like, okay, he's getting into the class of director like Christopher Nolan, where people are just going to start cutting this dude carte blanche and go, yeah, do what you want to do.
Yeah,
which is pretty much what they did with Dune.
Insert the gif of the plane crashing.
Yeah,
that we used last episode or one of the episodes ago.
Yeah,
but yeah. So all that to say, Denis on a perfect run. I haven't seen Enemy. I've seen all his other movies except for Enemy. Prisoner is one of my favorite movies that I've just recently discovered like in the last year or so. But coming into Dune 2, he had the perfect run. Dune being the original Dune or Dune Part 1 is so weird because it grabs you and you have no clue what's going on.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, as a layman, yeah, it blew up and it was huge.
Well, here's the thing about Dune as a novel, right? The original novel Dune.
Yeah.
I think to this day, still the best-selling sci-fi novel of all time.
Probably, yeah.
It's one of the most famous sci-fi stories ever written.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I've got a copy of it that I haven't read.
And it's it's also been like, you know, people thought it was deemed unfilmable at one point. Like they're like, how are you even going to be able to do this?
Yeah.
There's the Jodorowsky tried to do a Dune.
Which would have been
something. Have you ever seen the documentary about it?
I've seen clips from it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Famously, David Lynch did his take on it, which is a interesting watch.
I do believe he was like studio interfered with that a lot too.
For sure. Have you ever heard about the television cut of David Lynch's Dune? So there's an extended cut that they put on TV, and Lynch famously hates it so much that he actually refuses to have his name attached to it. So if you ever see the television cut, it's actually attributed to the like AD director or whatever. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Because of how much interference he was dealt with. That's a whole nother video, though. We'll go into that.
Yeah.
So, Denis has stated that Dune is like his favorite like novel. It's been his passion project since he was a kid.
Yeah.
There's pictures of this dude when he's like late teens, early 20s, like working on stuff, and he's just got a copy of Dune laying around. And then like apparently him and his, I might be wrong on this. There's like, he literally has storyboards that he drew when he was like 13.
Damn.
Because he knew he wanted to be in film.
Yeah.
And he like drew up storyboards of how he would do scenes for a Dune movie.
Yeah.
And then he got to do it.
Right.
You know?
That's awesome. But yeah, so I don't think you could have handed it off to a better director. Because he, as with Arrival specifically, and also Blade Runner to an extent, but that world's already so sci-fi. But definitely with like Arrival, how grounded in reality it felt, dealing with like time, like aliens who like see outside of time. You know what I mean? Like the weird mind concepts of that movie, but it's still super grounded. And that's exactly what he did with Dune 1 and now Dune 2 is it's still about Paul and Jessica and Chani.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You never get the pullback. Like I feel like it maybe in like David Lynch's Dune, it's a lot more like pulled back, and you see a lot more.
You see. Well, that's the thing about and we'll probably go into this a little bit more in a second with spoilers. That's a common, not complaint, but criticism, I guess I see, comparing the Lynch versus Denis version versus the book of like who's closer, what got removed, who's more faithful. Denis cut out a good bit of stuff, but he basically cut it down to its core, to where it's a more palpable message for people to get across.
Exactly.
Which is funny because some people are not getting the message, but we'll go into that too.
Well, that's why I think he really wants to do. He's really got to do Dune 3.
And he wants to. He's famously said that he wants to do a trilogy. He wants the third part to be based off of Messiah. Apparently, it's down to the point that whenever they were finishing up on Dune 2, he famously met with Hans Zimmer and just put a copy of Dune Messiah on Zimmer's desk and didn't say anything. And Hans Zimmer's reading it and writing a score now because they already know. And as of, I don't know if you know this or not, but as of right now, as of today, Dune Part 2 has already grossed more in the domestic box office than the entire total of the domestic box office for Dune Part 1.
Wow.
So it's already crushed the first movie's numbers.
Right. I mean, I definitely, because we saw on a Saturday, and I checked the numbers Monday morning.
Yeah.
And they had already met budget, which obviously the budget doesn't count marketing and stuff. You normally double the budget or something, approximately. But they had already met like $190 million in like 3 days.
Yeah, they're gonna blow their.
So as the numbers kept coming in, obviously, like, you know, it's gonna be.
They're gonna blow their budget out of the water. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's, people have said it. It's the new Star Wars. Go fucking watch it.
Well, and
it's better than Star Wars.
It's better than Star Wars. Well, also you know, I've got a whole list I need to show you, or we can put it here if you want to. I can read some off in a second once we get into spoiler territory.
Yeah.
About how much Star Wars was. I mean, George Lucas famously wears his influences on his sleeve. He took a lot from Dune.
Yep.
That most people don't even think about. But if you watch it, you're like, huh, I kind of, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I can sort of,
there's a lot of stuff. It's not like maybe one for one, but there's a lot of stuff that's like,
yeah.
I mean, for fuck's sake, the main character of Dune is named Paul, and the main character of Star Wars is named Luke.
Yeah,
like just a normal ass, you know.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so like all in all, spoiler free. Music incredible. Hans Zimmer famously, every time sand was shown in Dune Part 1, you hear you hear that.
Oh yeah, dude.
So I applaud his restraint in Dune Part 2 to only about the hour and a half mark, or hour and 15.
Well, that's just the
thing. First time you hear that.
Before we walked in, I remember joking about it and being like, oh, I can't wait to sit here for 3 hours and hear that every 3 minutes. And you're like, because it felt egregious in the first one, which is why when people talked about the score for Dune Part 1, I was always like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, not that it's not a cool like motif or whatever.
Yeah.
But it felt like it was like every single fucking
every single time you get an exterior shot
of sand. Yeah. I was like, whoa. Yeah.
But so it's a lot more restrained in the second half.
But here's the thing, man. Every time that shit happened in Dune Part 2, I'm like on the edge of my seat. He may take a little bit of notes on like making that motif feel earned. Yeah. I think
he's a little off the Henny in the first one, but
yeah, he was.
Or off the Grigio.
The joke is that damn Hans Zimmer's interns went crazy with this score. Like it wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, so the score in the second one really good, better than the first one. Like probably the best looking movie, CGI wise.
Oh, the CGI is impeccable.
Like we talked about the creator in one of our episodes. And it's on the same level. It's like you don't even realize you're watching. Like the laser guns, and stuff that you see in Dune Part 2. It's like you believe it. You believe every second. Of it. It's all. It feels physical. It feels real.
Everything is so grounded and has weight to it, and has like.
There's not a single shot where you like that CGI. You believe those ornithopters are flying.
Yeah, even when like there's like funny kind of looking shots of like the people like floating still feels real.
Everything's super grounded. So and a special shout out, you'll have seen it in the trailers, the black and white planet, where everything's either black or white.
You know how they filmed that, right?
In like
infrared, yeah. And then like color corrected it or whatever. It's like I was watching a whole video on him talking about it. Shout out to Greg, I think is how you say it. Fraser. I don't know how you say his name, but he's a cinematographer. Dude's worked on some amazing stuff. Famously, he's the same guy that did cinematography for the Batman and a bunch of other stuff. Amazing. I mean, he makes the movie what it is.
Yeah, and the story, like, to me, I feel like the reason why it's Dune Part 1, Dune Part 2. Part 1 literally, and we just sort of discussed this almost like the book, if you haven't read it, it's a lot of world building, and then you get the payoff. And boy, is the fucking payoff worth it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like Dune Part 1, it sets up the conflict, and there's some awesome scenes. It's a great movie on its own.
Yeah.
But it needed Dune Part 2.
Yeah, I think if you sit in one sitting and watch both of them, it would be, you're going to have an amazing time. Yeah. Because, like, you're getting the payoff that you wanted.
Because even somebody that's familiar with the story, I was on the edge of my seat for certain scenes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was like, I know, like, kind of generally some of the ideas of the book, but still, I was like, what the fuck is going to happen?
Also, like, to get to talking about the acting, what a, like, masterclass of a movie for, like, the quote-unquote, like, next generation of actors. Because you've got, like, all these younger actors that are still on, like, some of them have already had their critical acclaim moments and still are having their critical acclaim moments. But all of these people are pitching, like, they're fucking, I mean, they're going hard. They're going the hardest they've ever gone. I mean, you've got, 100%. Like, Timothée Chalamet, I notoriously not crazy about him, rocked it. Yeah. I mean, he fucking rules as Paul Atreides.
Yeah, you believe him.
You believe everything he says.
Because you believe him in the first one as kind of like just a young punk. Not punk, he's never a punk, but he's like young, untested.
And you see him getting tested, you see all this stuff. And
very naturally, he doesn't feel forced, doesn't feel rushed. Like, you see him get his accolades and take his lumps.
Even back in Part 1, I remember walking out of that movie going, damn, Timothée Chalamet killed it. I can't wait to see what he does in Part 2. And then we get to Part 2, and I'm like, that's the motherfucking Lisan al-Gaib right there.
Yeah, Lisan al-Gaib.
That's the guy.
Yeah, 100%.
Also, like, second biggest shout out, I think the second probably best performance in the movie outside of Paul, it's got to be Austin Butler as Feyd-Rautha.
Oh yeah,
dude, killed the role.
I mean, it was incredible.
I was a little worried going in because, like, I mean, Austin Butler's kind of a meme, you know. Yeah. Oh, mama, they're gonna make me bald, mama. They're telling me he's the Maldive, mama.
Jesus. Yeah, like, that's the only information I had in my head about that actor. So, but to see him come in and just go crazy like that,
crushed it.
Yeah, insane. So, but even like everybody though, like, I mean,
like, yeah, like as far as like the younger people go, you got Timothy, Austin Butler, Zendaya did amazing, Florence Pugh in her small part, awesome, perfect role for her. There's a redacted spoiler I won't say. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Oh yeah.
As another pretty famous younger actor that appears. I mean, it's literally just like going down the block of like these guys are going to be the next generation of like Hollywood, like the heavy hitters. They're gonna get their Oscars eventually. Some of them already have, some.
Yeah. And I think, but even then, like the No Country for Old Men reunion, Javier Bardem and
Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin, incredible.
Rebecca Ferguson crushed it as Rebecca. I mean, or Jessica. I said Rebecca. That's her name. Yeah, Lady Jessica. She's, incredible.
Yeah.
Javier Bardem.
Great.
Maybe in my one of my favorite performances in the movie for sure. I love Stilgar so much.
Oh yeah, it's funny because I did see like one review. It's like, I don't like that they made him funny. It's like, oh fuck it, let him have a little fun.
Well, that's
like the whole goddamn movie so serious.
That's the whole thing, man.
Let one guy make one joke.
There's so much in the movie. Like it's not like there's no like breaks of like hard humor. It's stuff that fits. That's just like funny in context.
It's like the doomer humor of people who live in the desert and ride sandworms.
It almost feels it almost feels unintentional, and then you realize no, it is intentional for him to be kind of funny.
It's one of those things. I've read sci-fi, especially like older sci-fi, and sometimes like you read it and it's so dense that like stuff like that won't it's the delivery of it, right? Like the plain text of it might not be funny, but the way that he says it.
I'm sure that even in the script of the movie, it doesn't even feel that funny.
Right.
And it's just like when they shot it, they were like, hey, wouldn't it be kind of funny? Like, you know.
Yeah.
The
and
way
don't
they
die,
frame
bud.
stuff.
You know, like slaps on the shoulder. Don't die. That's all you got to do. Stuff like that, you know. That's not a one for one line, but it's just like doomer humor, you know, like you know, and just like guys being guys in the desert type humor. I liked it. I liked that they had a little bit of levity because it's a very serious movie.
It's a very serious movie. Oh, with that being said,
9 out of 10. 9.5 out of 10.
Last bit of spoiler free here. It's a damn near perfect movie.
Yeah.
Go see it.
Yeah.
Go see part 1. Yeah. Go see it on the biggest screen you can.
We saw it in IMAX.
We saw it in IMAX.
It's incredible.
It's meant to be seen that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it's great in a regular theater too, but like, go see it in IMAX if you can, for sure.
Absolutely.
So yeah. So now let's get into some spoilers.
Spoilers. The Lisan al-Gaib.
Lisan al-Gaib.
Maldib.
I am Paul Maldib Atreides, Duke of Arrakis. Okay.
You know, yeah.
The scene where Paul ascends, right? And he accepts his role as the Messiah, as the Lisan al-Gaib, as the fucking, I can't remember, Quetzal's Haderach or whatever.
Quetzal's Haderach.
Granted, he doesn't actually call himself that because he doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, when he accepts that he's the guy and that he's going to lead a jihad, he's going to lead the holy war, just chills down my spine.
Yeah.
It's fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, Timothée Chalamet crushed that shit.
Oh, yeah.
You like, they frame, I've seen so many people talk about it, and they talk about how it almost feels like it's framed like a horror movie. Because you realize, like, it's not supposed to be... It's supposed to be, like, epic. And it's supposed to feel like this great moment. But it's also... The way it's cut and the way the music drops out, and it's got this eerie vibe to it. You're not supposed to root for Paul.
Yeah.
This isn't supposed to be a happy moment.
No. He literally is, like, consigned to the fate that he will kill...
billions
everybody
of people
he knows and loves, pretty much.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, he says that he sees the golden path. He sees that there's only one path forward, and it's through doing this.
Yeah. By the way, something I like. You know, it's very quick, but he does the hand motion, and then there's like a 1/4 second cut of the fight at the end of the movie stitched in right there, where he literally knows exactly
how the fight's gonna go.
Yeah, you see the hand with the knife, like you basically see the killing blow. He sees the killing blow that he makes in the final fight in the moment where he decides
to do it.
The path. So I think, like, I love that.
Yeah. Oh, it's
like it's such an incredible, like, because I'm sure the way the prescience and stuff like that works in Dune, it's not like literally laid out step by step. It can be altered and things can change, but the fact that, like, in his mind he walked the steps to get to that point, and like he followed it and was
so like they describe the prescience going forward, because, like, spoilers, it's going to be a bigger part in part 3 in Messiah. A lot of Messiah is about how Paul is now just like this all-seeing guy, you know, and like ways to try to get around it, because like there's things going on that it's kind of like a gambit of people trying to sneak stuff by him, and he actually does know it's happening, but he knows that it has to happen, so he lets them do it. It's crazy. Yeah. You know? I mean, it's just, it's intense. It's intense. It's a lot of intense stuff. There's a lot of changes they made in part 2 from the book that I know some people were kind of upset about. There's some stuff that I'm not like, I mean, I'm not upset about it really. Like I see the vision.
Yeah.
I'm also just really curious as to how they're going to do Messiah with some of these changes. The biggest change is Aaliyah.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know that Aaliyah in the book is born.
Yeah. I know mainly from, I've seen clips of her in the
original
Lynch Dune,
yeah. So like the time jump from the fall of House Atreides to the end of the book is like 2 years or so, something like that.
2 years.
But in the movie, it's not. In the movie, it's less than 9 months because Aaliyah's not even born yet.
Right.
So like they don't have Aaliyah being born. They don't have the fucking psychic murder toddler shit going on that she was doing. Because like in the book, Aaliyah is actually the one that kills Baron Harkonnen.
Yeah, Harkonnen. Yeah.
Yeah, she's the one that kills him, not Paul.
Right.
And it's like a big reveal of who she is when that happens. I like the way they did it with because like they talk about in the book how Lady Jessica knows, like, can talk to her.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, they call her like the Abomination because like apparently this has happened before the Bene Gesserit, and they normally like kill those children.
Yeah.
Because it's not supposed to be a thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
And that'll come into play later in the books, much later, but like maybe we'll never get to that in a movie. Who knows?
Yeah.
But shout out to them doing the way they did it. It was a little unnerving with like the fucking embryo shots, but it's a cool way to do it.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome.
And the Anya Taylor-Joy cameo of her being like future Aaliyah, is, I mean, perfect. I'm just curious as to how they're gonna do it going forward, because like they've clearly casted Anya Taylor-Joy. Messiah technically, I believe, takes place 12 years after the events of Dune, which in the book means that Aaliyah is like 14. Anya Taylor-Joy is clearly older than 14.
Yeah.
You know? And then also that makes Paul like a 30-something-year-old man. They could get away with, you know, leaving Timothée Chalamet and making him look a little bit older. Maybe. But I don't know what they're going to do about her.
Yeah.
So I don't know. A little bit of curiosity there.
Yeah, but yeah, that was a really cool moment because, like, in the movie, when you see it, it's like you knew there was going to be a part 3.
There's going to be a part 3,
right? Like, you know, like in your mind, like he did not make this movie as a, you know, maybe we'll get a part 3. He's like, no, I'm setting it for part 3. So like Florence Pugh, Anya Taylor-Joy, you know, Chani's ending. Where she sets off as like basically one of the last Fremen.
Well, that's also
left of the planet.
And that's also different from the book too.
Yeah.
That's notoriously a big change. Is that the end of the book is like Chani being upset about what's going on, but she still goes with it. And there's like a talk between her and Jessica about how Paul's never gonna love Aurelian. You're the true. We're both concubines. We will be known to these people as concubines, but history will know us as their real wives. Yeah. Because that's how Jessica was to Leto.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think it's.
But
obviously, because there's going to be a part 3, you can't just have Chani being just following around. Like, there's got to be something.
Well, they wanted to set it up, and also
because Chani was the one, at least in the movie. I'm assuming in the book, but she was like the biggest thing grounding Paul, and the biggest reason why Paul didn't want it and also had to accept it, because like he sees the vision of her dying from a nuclear fallout.
Yeah. So okay, yeah, her dying from the nuclear fallout and all that stuff. So one of the biggest changes from the book, if you didn't know, is you were talking about how like the whole like I see her dying, like getting nuked or whatever. Because of the time jump being like 2+ years, Chani and Paul have a son. They have a kid in the books.
Okay.
He's a newborn. He's named Leto after his Paul's dad. And in the assault where Feyd-Rautha blows up the camp, like where they live, their son dies. Yeah. The infant dies. And that's the moment in the book where Paul's like, fuck it. I've got to do it. I've got to save my family. There's no other way. Yeah. You know? Okay. It's not just like the horror and everything of like, I mean, yes, like the whole assault happens and like he sees the visions of Chani. He's been, debating all this, but in the book, there's the whole, I literally had a kid and the kid dies. They killed our son.
Yeah. Okay.
Some people were kind of mad about that.
Yeah.
I just think that for like time's sake, it makes sense to cut that. You can still get the same, result out of it. The fact that you have like prescience means that you can see all the stuff that happens.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
what does it really matter?
So my question with the prescience is, I guess this is kind of neither here nor there, but like, do two people with prescience like counter each other?
Like Mistborn.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they're both, if they're both burning
ATM.
ATM. Yeah. I don't know if that's ever addressed.
Like,
because I don't think anybody else is prescient except for Paul.
Isn't Jessica or her kid is like prescient?
Leah? Not like Paul.
Well, I guess she just has the memories of.
They have the memories of. They have the past. He's the only one that has the future.
Oh, okay.
Because he's the Hot Rock. He's the he's the guy.
He's the guy.
He's the guy.
He's the goat.
He's Lisan Agaib. Lisan Agaib.
Yeah, that scene. By the way, that scene where like these like, when he first calls Shahilud the biggest sandworm they'd ever seen.
Yeah.
To ride him.
Oh, the sandworm scene is incredible.
Like like we said, I think we said in the non-spoiler half, but like all of the steps that he takes. He is like a little Mary Sue-y, but it's also like explained that there's a time jump. You know what I mean? So it's like, like you see him fight at the very beginning of the movie against the Harkonnens, and he's like, he kills one guy, and then like there's a guy comes up behind him just as like, never leave your back, blah blah blah, open. Yeah. And then like and then he's training with the Fremen, and the Fremen are like badass. So it's like
goated. You
can kind of see like he's not just like, he's a good fighter, but he's not the best fighter until like 9 months or 6 months later after living in the desert.
Basically, here's the thing: is like the Fremen have home field advantage. They know how to fight in the sand. Yeah. They know how to like sneak up on people. They
also read that like spice enhances your physical abilities and stuff.
Yes, and they're all constantly eating spice and stuff. Yeah. So like it enhances a lot of stuff. Well, and that's another hand wavy bit they can use for like the age stuff. Is like spice slows your aging down. Mm-hmm.
The only thing I'm mad about, we didn't see the fish people, navigators. I wanted to see some weird Dune shit.
So we've seen the guild, the Spacing Guild in the first movie. You see members of the guild. You see the people in like the white things with like the dome faces, and you can't see their faces. Yeah. You never see like an actual navigator. Right. And I wish we would have seen a navigator. Yeah. We're gonna have to see a navigator in Messiah. It's very crucial to the story. Yeah. There's no way they can cut that out. We're going to see some weird shit in Messiah that you have to be able to see. Yeah. I think for what it's worth for this part of the movie is you can get away with not having to do that much. Yeah. Like that weird of stuff. So.
Yeah, that's just the thing. Is like I was ready. And I feel like audience, like if you saw a navigator in the last 30 minutes of the movie or 45, when the Emperor comes down and that giant. By the way, I was just in awe, like just as the invisible CGI of the giant mirrored ship, and you see it flying over a mountain range and then over a city, and you see the reflection of it on the bottom. Dude, it was immaculate.
Immaculate CGI.
It's crazy, like. I mean, I know it was probably in the grand scheme of things not that difficult because. That whole city and mountain are probably CGI, so it's probably pretty easy to reflect it. But just like the attention to detail,
it's still awesome.
You see all the distortion and the warping on it. Like I said, it's invisible, but like little things like that just look insane.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how else to describe it besides just incredible. I mean, every detail of the movie is incredible.
Yeah, the one small nitpick. Well, I had two small nitpicks. They never show the Fremen eating or planting food. They just like you see literally two instances in the whole two movies. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Or maybe you see like a Muad'Dib in the first movie. I think you see but you see a little Muad'Dib in the desert, and then you see they have like a little roostery. Like a rookery.
Yeah, the rookery with all the birds.
For all the birds. So you see a couple, but then like you're told, the southern part isn't uninhabitable. It's just blasted rock. But there's millions of people that live there. So it would be nice if you just like, oh, it's not blasted rock. There's palm trees and there's fruit and there's animals and stuff. Because then I looked it up, and they do trade. Fremen trade off world.
Yeah.
They're not just like completely backwater, blah blah blah. But they don't show any of that, which is just a small nitpick. But it's just one of the things that how am I supposed to believe there's millions of people on a desert planet when you never see anything to the contrary, that there's not just giant sandworms.
That's true. My big complaint I've seen people talk about is, I mean, it's not really a big complaint. It's just something I'm kind of curious about, is like what the angle is going to be, or if it's a plot hole.
Mm-hmm.
So the end of the movie, right? Paul's gambit is, I'll let you live. I'm marrying your daughter. I'm taking your throne to Princess Aurelian and the Emperor, right? And he's like, kick fucking rocks, but I won't kill you. I'm just going to take your throne and I'm going to marry your daughter. She's safe.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason he does that is because then at that point you have a tie to legitimacy.
Mm-hmm.
And the Emperor just steps down, and his bloodline marries the heir, and that person becomes the Emperor. So that the other houses of the universe respect the decision, and it doesn't turn into war.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
But in the movie, they do that, and then all of a sudden the great houses show up in orbit, and Gurney turns and he goes, "Sir, the great houses are sending a message. They do not accept your offer.
Yeah.
They don't accept your ascendancy."
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, show them to paradise. And it's like, okay, it's jihad time.
Yeah.
They all start loading the Fremen on the ships, and they start taking the fucking battle to space.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the movie ends. And it's like, okay, so if it didn't work, then why are you even fucking marrying Princess Aurelian?
For the claim.
Yeah, but he could have just killed him and been like...
Right, but I'm sure, like, with the prescience, I'm assuming, because there's more books...
Yeah.
That, like, eventually the claim does work, and then he has...
and that's what I think is going to happen, is that in Messiah, right, like, when we get to part 3, they're going to be like...
Because if he was just killing everybody, including the Emperor, and he just scorched Earth, then...
Yeah,
it's literally just chaos.
I guess it's eventually like he's going to take the fight to them, and they'll concede, and then they'll acknowledge it because he does have the seat.
And I'm assuming maybe there's like great houses that will side with him in the war.
And that's my thing, is I'm like,
because even with millions of Fremen, there's like thousands or hundreds of thousands of planets in the
and
Empire.
also at the end of, it's not. All the great houses don't know the full story, because House Atreides was pretty well. I think they had their connections.
Yeah.
The Harkonnens also had their connections, and the great houses didn't want to choose in between the two and get involved in that kind of conflict. So when it was revealed that House Atreides was slaughtered by the Harkonnens, they were just like, "Oh, that sucks, but we're not getting involved."
Yeah.
But they didn't know that the reason that they got slaughtered by the Harkonnens is because the Emperor was like, "Here's my Sardaukar, here's my guard, the deadliest fighters in the universe, to come in here and just fucking wipe the map with you."
Yeah.
That is another. Speaking of which, that's another thing that kind of bothers me a little bit, is that like I know that the way that they frame the end fight, that everything is an ambush, the nukes, the sandworms, the Fremen, and just getting unbidden underneath them and hitting them when they're down. It's all guerrilla warfare. But at the same time, in the first movie, you show me the Sardaukar, and you're like, these are the deadliest fighters in the universe.
Yeah.
And then in this movie, it's these guys are getting shit on.
Yeah. Well, I think the one of the lines too is I think it's something I read, not something maybe explicit in the movie, but like House Atreides are pretty much, they're fighters because of Gurney and Duncan and all them. They're fighters like on par with them. That's why they're like scared of them almost.
Yeah.
Because the House Atreides fighters are all badass. Just as badass as Sardaukar. And the Sardaukar kills them. Yeah, like you said, like basically like the two strongest forces go to battle, but then the one that wins a battle against the other set of strongest people gets cut down.
Well,
I know what you're saying.
They also talk about the fact that the Fremen are fucking scary.
Yeah. Like I said, they're like spice-fueled fucking monsters, and they fight in the desert.
Yeah, like
all the time.
I mean, they're
literally
the Viet Cong.
Well, they're also almost literally the Aiel from the Wheel of Time. It's the same thing.
They're also
scary desert fighters.
They're also literally like words I probably shouldn't say on YouTube. Specific groups from the Middle East.
Well, what do you mean, man? They're just going on a jihad.
My favorite thing. We'll try to wrap this up a little bit. My favorite stuff about like the way this movie is received and stuff. A lot of memes. People love the movie, so there's a lot of memes going around. My Twitter's been nothing but Dune 2 stuff lately.
Yeah.
And then just like a lot of critiques and stuff. There's these people that I see that are like making TikToks about like they just don't get it. They're talking about like this is the most blatant white savior trope I've ever seen. I'm like, yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
The point is that that's bad.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to root for Paul.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing is it's going to being so popular, it's going to go over people's heads.
It was good. Exactly. There's supposed to be a nuance. You're supposed to root for Paul. You're supposed to root for Paul, the person who wanted to get revenge for his family being killed, the person that, put in the situation. But as soon as he becomes Lisan al-Gaib, and
when he stands up in front of the millions of Fremen, is like, I am Paul Mahdi Atreides, and forces them all to bow to him. You're not supposed to think that's a good.
It's supposed to be scary. Yeah. It's supposed to be, oh, hey, he's. This is not something he wanted to do. This is something that he has to do. And then also he just said, I'm going to lead a holy war that is going to kill billions of people.
Yeah. But, it's going to go over people's heads.
It's almost like the whole theme of Dune is very political. It's about all sorts of like geopolitical stuff. Frank Herbert was very based.
Yeah.
For his time at least. There's some stuff that he's a little weird about, but.
Yeah. But I will say, as we wrap up here soon, the other small minor nitpick is the classic bad guy kill guy that works for him trope. How every Harkonnen.
I loved it. I thought it was hilarious.
It's so blatant.
It is.
You know what I mean? So it's got to be like on purpose pretty much. But it is funny. It is funny how like everybody that they as soon as you voice any sort of dissent, heads off.
I wish that that reminds me, because you're talking about that, makes me think about Dave Bautista's character Rabin, and how Gurney's whole plot and two is I want to go kill Rabin, but I want revenge specifically on Rabin.
Yeah,
and then he gets it, and it's so short.
Yeah,
it's not even really. I wanted there to be like
tied up.
I just wanted there to be like a fight.
Yeah, a real fight.
Granted, I think the whole movie you basically realize that like Rabin's not as scary as he thinks he is, and he loses his power and he's consumed by fear. So like by the end, he's not even half the man that he was when he first led the charge in the first movie.
Yeah.
But like, and then Gurney's also learned from the Fremen, and now he's a fucking super badass.
Yeah, yeah. But all in all, I'd say in conclusion, movie's awesome.
Yeah,
incredible. Like, the amount of things get tied up and also get opened up, like for part 3. Like, I mean, if this comes out, part 3 comes out, and it's even close to good, it's gonna be like the 3 best. It's gonna be Star Wars, but good.
It's already crazy that it's being put in like the same. People are like, it's a once in a generation kind of thing. Like people talk about like Star Wars, so the original Star Wars trilogy, and then how about like Lord of the Rings. And now it's like we're getting Dune at that level.
Yeah.
How cool that's going to be.
Oh, yeah.
And I agree. I think it's just I would say I'd put it up there with like Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like in terms of scale and scope and how good it is, definitely up there with Lord of the Rings. Like,
and the level of detail put into like being able to do it.
Yeah. And the amount of butthurt nerds that cry about.
Oh, absolutely.
My adaptation.
Yeah, well, who cares about fucking
actually in the book?
But yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, motherfucker, we can't put Tom Bombadil and the scout, what is it, Scouring of the Shire or whatever. Yeah. We can't fit it in the
I don't give a fuck about Tom Bombadil.
Yeah, exactly. We can't do it anyway.
Fucking watch Dune Part 2. Go buy a ticket right now. Yeah. Don't watch it at home. Don't go wait. I'm not gonna wait till streaming. Go sit in a fucking theater. Yeah. Go buy the Dune fuck bucket from AMC.
Insert. We've got the Dune fuck bucket. I repeat.
I forgot to bring it. I really wish I would have brought it.
You could have drank that out of the Dune fuck bucket. Would have made it taste better.
Oh, God.
Well, you're fucking it, so it probably won't taste too good.
All right, we're
get me
done.
out. Cheers. The water of life.
I'm not drinking that shit again.
Fuck it.